Hello. Let's get ready to do some yoga together. First, I want to take a moment to show you some of the props that I like to have handy. A canvas strap is the most important one for me. A couple different sizes of yoga blocks. Some pillows, maybe small, maybe large, maybe one of each. And I like to have a small bolster as well as a large bolster handy because I never know what I want to use as I'm moving around, just what fits right for the moment. The supports are used just basically to allow a maximum relaxation in this restorative practice. Also, in general, a lot of people don't realize the blocks are utilized to essentially bring the floor closer to you. So let's go ahead and start. If you're not already in your Savasana, let's do our corpse pose, relaxing into it, setting our intentions for today's practice. Focus on what you want to bring into your life and what you're needing to let go of in order to create the space to allow that change and shift. Relax into your Savasana while setting those intentions. It's always good to start your practice with a meditation. So we'll continue to remain in Savasana while intentionally allowing ourselves just to let go of all of our worries and concerns. Let go of your stress from the day, from the week, from the month, and from the entire year. Allow yourself to be stress-free. And then slowly rotate your head and neck to the right, looking over your right shoulder. Take a deep breath, turning the head and the neck back to neutral. And then to the left side for another deep breath. And then back to neutral. Stretching out long, reach your hands overhead, pointing your toes. You can rotate your ankles. And then we're going to hug the right knee. Holding it there. You have an option here to engage your foot, flexing your heel, rotating your ankle, pointing your toes. We're going to continue hugging that right knee, paying close attention to the micro movements and the compression in your right hip socket. And then you're going to reach for your canvas strap, putting that across the ball of your right foot. Straighten out your right leg. You can actually keep the knee slightly bent if you wish, or you can straighten it, or a little bit of both. You can go back and forth. Just holding that leg straight up. Maybe pull the leg slightly closer to your chest. Before then swinging the right leg out to the right side while continuing to hold the strap. We're going to hold this half straddle for a couple of deep breaths. And then as you release, you can set your strap aside, lowering your right leg back down to the mat. Hands overhead, stretched out long again, pointing those toes, rotating the ankles before then hugging in your left knee tightly. Again, you can engage your foot and ankle by flexing and pointing your toes, rotating the ankle. Continue hugging that left knee tightly. And again, pay attention to your micro movements, focusing on the compression in the left hip. And then you can pick up your strap, placing the canvas across the ball of your left foot and straightening out that leg, holding it there. You can have the slight bend in the knee if you wish, or straightened, or a little bit of both, mixing it up. And then you might want to pull that leg just a little closer to your chest before then swinging that left leg out to the left side with your foot still in the strap for the half straddle on the left side. This is a big stretch. Just breathe into it. And then you can set your strap aside while lowering the leg back down to the mat. Both legs are out straight again, stretching out long with your arms up overhead. And then hugging in both knees tightly. Continue holding the right knee while lowering the left leg back down to the mat. Hugging that right knee. And then when you are ready, you can place that right knee on the floor on the left side of your body or on a bolster, crossing that knee and leg over your body for the supine twist. Your arms are in a T, keeping your drishti out over your right fingertips. You have an option here to use your left hand to apply a light pressure to your right knee at any point in time. Enjoy this relaxing twist, focusing on the release in the small of your back. And then slowly you're going to turn your head to look out over your left shoulder for 2 full breaths. Then slowly turning the head and neck back to be looking out over the right shoulder, relaxing your gaze over your right fingertips again. And then head and neck back to neutral. Lower that right leg back down to the floor. And then we're going to hug in both of your knees together, your head and neck towards the knees, rocking and rolling. And then lower your right leg down to the floor while continuing to hug in your left knee. And hold that there. Then slowly move the left knee across your body to place it on the floor on your right side or onto a bolster for the supine twist to the other side. Arms are in a T again. Enjoy this release in your lower spine while keeping your gaze out over your left fingertips. With your right hand, you can apply that light pressure to the left knee at any point if you wish. Just relaxing into it. And then slowly turn your head and neck to the right, looking out over your right fingertips for a couple of full breaths. Actually, I think I got my left and my right confused there. You know what I meant. Just turning your head then back to how you had it. And then neutral. Then lower that left leg down to the mat. Coming out of this twist, stretch your arms out long overhead. Pointing your toes, rotating your ankles. And then hug both of those knees once again, stretching your neck and back. And again, engaging those feet, flexing the heels, pointing your toes and rotating your ankles. Then we're going to get into the reclined butterfly. You might want to utilize some props under your knees or thighs. Your arms are down by your sides. Hands are facing up, surrendering to your practice. Then slowly glide your arms across the floor, reaching out wide into that half moon. Hands meeting overhead to prayer hands. Then gliding your arms back down like butterfly wings, reaching out to the sides, and then hands or palms down by your sides, facing up again. And then once more, slowly stretching your arms out wide to the sides, bringing them back up overhead in that half moon. You can get your hands into steeple grip or prayer hands. With your arms overhead outstretched, you might want to remove any props if you're using them right now in this reclined butterfly pose. We're going to get into the reclined tree pose. First, you'll straighten out your left leg while placing the sole of your right foot against the inseam of your left thigh as high as you can. Hands still overhead in prayer hands, steeple grip, or yogi's choice. And then we're simply going to switch sides by first straightening out your right leg and then placing the sole of your left foot high to the inseam of your right thigh. Your arms can still be in prayer hands or steeple grip, goalpost arms, branching them out however you're most comfortable. Then you're going to reach for your canvas strap, get it across the balls of both feet for legs up the wall. Knees can be straight or bent slightly. You can pedal your knees. You can rock, you can wiggle, anything you wish. Continue to keep your left foot in the strap with the canvas across the ball of the foot while removing your right foot and placing the right ankle across your left thigh for reclined pigeon. Holding that there, you can bend your left knee slightly, or you can keep it straightened, or some of each, straightening and bending. And then we're going to switch out the feet, getting your right foot back into that strap, removing your left foot, placing the left foot across your right thigh for the reclining pigeon on the other side. Enjoy the stretch. Again, you have an option to bend your knee slightly or keep it straightened, or some of both. Then we're going to lay flat for 3 honey bumblebee breaths. Set the strap down to your side. Closing your eyes, placing your 3 fingers on your eyelids, thumbs are on your ear cartilage, pressing the thumbs down on that tragus, closing off the airway to your ears, breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. We're going to hum low pitch 3 times on the exhale. And then after that, we'll get ready to flip over, slowly turning to the left or to the right. We're going to lay prone on our front sides, resting our forehead on hands laying on top of each other. Give yourself a minute as we're going to prepare to do the supine twist again from a different angle. Coming up onto your elbows and forearms into Sphinx. Hike up your right knee out to the side with your right arm out in front of you. With your left arm, you can thread the needle, making any adjustments for the supine twist that you need to. You might want to grab the bolster or pillow or block to put your knee on again. Straightening out both of your arms. You might want to have your shoulders flat on the ground, arms in a T. At any point, you can use your left hand to apply that slight pressure to the right knee. Keeping your gaze over the right shoulder, looking out over your right fingertips. Feel the difference here from the last supine twist, having gotten into this pose from an entirely different series of prompts and directives. Also, take note of the similarities along with the differences. And when you're ready, you can come out of this twist, getting your head to rest on your hands stacked on top of one another again. Then bending your knees, feet in the air, windshield wiper the feet and the calves back and forth before slowing it down and lowering the feet back down to the mat. And then back up onto your forearms and elbows and hands into the Sphinx again. This time you're going to hike your left knee up out to the left side with your left arm out in front of you. You can thread your right arm through the needle, shifting into that supine twist again. Same as the other side, you can adjust yourself so that both shoulders and arms are flat on the ground in a T, and you have the option to apply a light pressure with your right hand on your left knee, keeping your drishti out over your left shoulder. As you relax into this twist again, taking note of the similarities and differences from the first supine twist and even from the other side. And when you're done, you can unwind back to resting your head on your hands stacked on top of one another again. Lifting those feet, and this time in an exaggerated motion, really windshield wiper the feet and calves back and forth, loosening out your hips. And then lower your feet to the ground before sending your hips back towards your feet, getting into a wide knee child pose. You can use a block or a bolster or a pillow to rest your head or your torso on. Really relax your torso, ragdolling the upper portion of your body. Allow gravity to do some of this work for you. And when you're done, you can remove the prop if you have one, coming up into a tabletop shape as you then get back into Sphinx on your elbows and forearms again. This time spreading your hands and your fingers out as wide as you can, holding that Sphinx pose tall before then turning your right forearm to be parallel with the top of the mat. Reach your left foot with your left hand, holding this half bow pose for several breaths. And then you can take a minute here to attempt the full bow, getting each of your feet into each of your hands. Very challenging. You might want to use the strap so that you can get your feet into either hand. However you need to, if you're able to get into the full bow shape. If it's too much, just do whatever you're comfortable with. knowing that your level of flexibility varies from day to day. If you have someone nearby, you can ask them to spot you. If you're in full bow, you can use your breath and your diaphragm to rock yourself lightly, or you can remain still, or some of each. And then as you let go, rest your head on your hands again, one hand on top of the other, and windshield wipering those feet again, really loosening out the hips again too. Before slowing it down, then lowering the feet back down to the floor. The same thing on the other side, coming back into Sphinx, stretching your hands and fingers out as wide as you can. Sitting tall, before then turning your left forearm to be parallel with the top of your mat, reaching with your right hand back to hold your right foot, engaging in the half bow for several breaths. And then just like on the other side, you can attempt the full bow if it's in your practice, using the strap, having someone spot you, whatever you need to support this challenge of the full bow pose. I sometimes use one foot to guide the other foot into the hand. It's a little different every day. And again, if you're in this full bow, you can use your breath and your diaphragm to rock lightly back and forth. You can remain still or mixing it up with a little bit of both. And then when letting go, lower both feet back down to your mat. And again, send your hips back to your feet to sit into child's pose. A regular child's pose this time with your knees touching. And while sitting on your feet, you can rest your forehead on a block. We're going to be here for a prolonged period. Again, really ragdolling your torso. Deep breaths. Leaning into it. And then we're going to walk our fingers or slide our hands to the right edge of the mat. Reaching for the upper right hand corner. Feeling the stretch across your lower ribs. And then sliding the hands or walking the fingers back to neutral. Then slide or walk hands or fingers to the left edge of the mat. Reaching towards the upper left corner. Focusing on that extension in your lower right ribs. Hold that there. Before gliding back to neutral. And again, you can really lean into this, just making your torso dead weight. Then slowly push your torso up with your hands on the mat. We're going to come up into hero's pose. You may want a block under your bum. You can place your hands on your thighs. just remaining still, noticing the challenge of this seemingly easy pose. And then you can get your hands into prayer hands over your heart, slowly rising those prayer hands overhead, and then lowering them back down, placing your hands back onto your thighs before coming up, widening out your knees. Stretch your arms back behind you, getting your hands into a bind. Explore the limits of your flexibility with this. You might want to lean back slightly, pushing your hands and arms up. You might want to bend forward, getting your forehead onto the floor in front of you, and then pushing your arms and hands towards the floor above you. And then slowly coming back up, before then moving into camel pose, unbinding your hands. In the camel pose, you can lean back, arching your torso, maybe holding blocks or using a bolster across the backs of your legs. Explore this heart opener. And then coming out of this shape, you can sit back on your feet into the hero's pose once more, focusing on your breath again. And when you're ready, swing your legs around out in front of you for staff pose with a stack of pillows and props on your legs. You might want to pile the props up so that you can ragdoll your upper body over the props. Or alternatively, you can use the strap on the balls of your feet for the same type of effect here. We're going to relax into this for an extended period. Really lean into it. Envision tilting your hips towards your feet, towards your toes. Again, allow gravity to do the work for you. Focus on easing your weight forward, trusting the gravitational pull to completely support you and keep you safe. And then when we're done, we'll remove the props before setting them aside. And then get your left leg stretched out long. Bring the right foot up high to the inseam of your left thigh. Reaching for your left toes in a side bend. Breathing into the stretch. Focus on relaxing into it. Trusting gravity to do its magic. And then as you come back up to neutral, you can get both legs stretched out into the wide straddle again, leaning forward for a couple of deep intentional breaths, maybe using the blocks. And then transitioning slowly, switching it out to the other side. Place your left foot to the inner right thigh. Reaching for the right toes in a side bend. Your left hand might be over the right hand and foot. Focusing on your breath. Again, trusting gravity to work its magic, supporting you and keeping you safe. Then come back up into neutral, stretching both legs out into that wide straddle again, leaning forward, reaching out in front of yourself, maybe resting your forearms and forehead on a couple of blocks, leaning into it. Focus on allowing the weight of your head to be fully supported by the prop if you do have your forehead on a block. Relaxing into a handful of intentional breaths before then coming on into a seated butterfly, holding the soles of your feet together with both hands, pushing your knees towards the floor, sitting tall, and then mindfully bending your neck and head towards your feet before gently rising your head slowly up to neutral, envisioning a string above your head pulling it straight up. And then twist your head from side to side, first to the right, looking over your right shoulder, and then neutral, then to the left, and then back to neutral. Now we're going to stretch the neck down, rolling it out in small movements at first. You can turn your head and neck back and forth like you're indicating a no. Stretch your neck diagonally, bending from side to side. You might even want to move your head up and down as if acknowledging a yes. If it's in your practice, you can do a full circle rotation in one direction and then a full circle rotation to the other direction. And then bring your head back to neutral before shifting into easy pose, touching down to the mat with your left fingertips. Drop your right ear to your right shoulder. You have an option here to use a light pressure with your right fingertips on the top of your head. If you want, you can move the head slightly back and forth to gently massage your neck muscles. Then head and neck back to neutral. Now reaching your right fingers down onto the mat while dropping your left ear to your left shoulder. And again, with that slight pressure with the left fingertips if you wish. And again, moving the head and neck slightly back and forth. And then back to neutral. And again, turn your head slowly from side to side, gently to the right. And then back to neutral, to the left, and then back to neutral. And now we're going to bring ourselves into that wide straddle again, leaning forward. You might want to use the blocks in front of you to rest your forehead on again, as we're going to remain in this stretch for an extended period. Focusing on your breathing. Fill your lungs with fresh air. Empty them out. Refill them again. Getting clean, pure oxygen into your bloodstream to travel to your muscles as you relax into the stretch. And then you can pick up a block into each of your hands, reaching over your left foot. Place each of the blocks on either side of your foot to rest your hands on, or you can reach for your toes. Allowing gravity to assist you in your efforts, making the side stretch almost effortless. Breathe into it. And picking the blocks up, place them out in front of you, leaning forwards. Before then picking them back up to place on either side of the right foot. And again, you can rest your hands on the blocks or reach for your toes, or some of each. Breathing deeply, allowing gravity to do its work. Letting go of all of your stress. And then come back up to neutral. Setting the blocks aside. Our next pose will be bending our right knee over our left leg, extended out straight. Twisting to the right, gazing to the back of the room. The right hand or fist is on the floor behind you. Arm is propping up your torso. Use your left elbow to leverage on the right knee. And then slowly you're going to turn your head and neck to gaze to the front of the room. Slowly returning your gaze to the back of the room, all while leveraging that left elbow on the right knee. Then coming out of the twist back to neutral, we're simply going to switch sides, bending the left knee over the right leg extended out straight. Left hand or fist is on the floor behind you, gazing over your left shoulder towards the back of the room. Leveraging with your right elbow or arm across the left knee. And then slowly turning your head and neck to gaze out over your right shoulder to the front of the room. And then slowly turning your head and neck to return your drishti to the back of the room over your left shoulder again. Continue leveraging that right elbow on that left knee. And then then back to neutral. Next, we're going to hold the soles of the feet together again, getting into that butterfly, pressing those knees towards the floor, sitting up tall, and then slowly and carefully bending the head and the neck towards the feet. And then again, imagining that string being pulled from above, from the top of your head, coming back to neutral. Gently turning your head to the right, looking over your right shoulder. Slowly back to neutral. And then carefully to the left. And then again back to neutral. And now we're going to get our legs into cow face and then Lord of the Fish. First, bend the right knee over the left knee that's also bent, stacking them on top of one another for cow face. Holding each of your feet in each of your hands. You can use your thumbs to press into the arches of your feet, giving yourself a nice gentle foot massage if you like, while sitting up tall. And then we're going to turn all the way to the right. Your right arm is back behind you. Your left elbow leverages against that right knee. Looking to the back of the room. Appreciate the power of this twist. And then slowly turn your head to be looking out over your other shoulder. Slowly turning your head and neck to be looking out over your right shoulder again. And then back to neutral. And now you can straighten both of your legs out in front of yourself for staff pose. Reaching your arms out wide to the sides and then arching them in the half moon up to the sky. Interlacing your fingers, binding your hands together, turning them outward and reaching up as tall as you can. And then slowly you're going to bend forward, eventually reaching for your toes. Noticing any tightness in your back. And then coming back up to neutral. Now we'll prepare to switch legs for cow face on the other side. Your bent left knee goes over your right bent knee, stacking them on top of each other again. Holding your feet with each of your hands, sitting up tall. You can use your thumbs to massage into the arches of each foot again. And then we're going to twist to the left. Right elbow leveraging against the left knee. Looking out over the left shoulder towards the back of the room. Really feel the power in this stretch. And then slowly rotating your head and neck to turn your gaze to the other side of the room, looking out over your right shoulder. And slowly returning the gaze to be looking out over the left shoulder towards the back of the room once again. and then returning your head and neck back to neutral. Coming out of this twist, we'll return to the staff pose. Again, reaching your arms out wide to the sides, legs out in front, making a half moon arch, touching the hands overhead for steeple grip. Sitting tall before then leaning forward towards your feet to then hold your toes. Paying attention to any tension in your back. Letting go of that stress and tension. And then as you come up to neutral, you can transition into easy pose. Reach your arms out wide to the sides and then up overhead for the half moon arch. Touching your hands together for prayer hands. Before then getting into cactus arms. Preparing for eagle arms. First with the right elbow over the left elbow. Hands together. Pushing your elbows slightly up, bending the head and neck slightly down. You can remain in this nice stretch, or if you like, you have an option to slowly begin to look up as high as possible, leaning your head back slightly while pushing those eagle arms towards the sky. As you do, your arms will unpretzel, and then you can reach them back out wide, touching your fingertips down to the ground again before arching your arms back into another half moon, touching your hands together overhead, then back to cactus, and then eagle arms again with the left elbow over the right elbow this time. Pushing the elbows up slightly, bending the neck and head down. Holding that there. Enjoy the stretch across your neck and shoulder blades. And again, it comes with the option of slowly looking up as high as possible. Leaning your head slightly back, pushing your elbows and arms up as they unpretzel. You can stretch your arms out wide to the sides, touching the earth before then reaching back out wide and up, bringing them overhead into another half moon arch to steeple grip. Sitting tall. And then we're going to do a simple twist to the right as you lower your hands down. Your right hand will be behind you, left hand on your right knee. Lifting your right arm up high, crossing it over the left, reaching your right hand for your left knee, and then your left hand onto the floor behind you. Before raising your left arm up high, reaching over your right arm to hold your right knee again. And then here you can hug your knees lightly in this basket shape. And then we have an opportunity to get into boat pose. I like to hold my hands under my legs first for a very strong, intense boat pose. Before then, holding the arms parallel to the ground in the more traditional boat pose. And then I usually like to scissor my legs and feet momentarily with my toes pointed or flexed, slowly raising them up and down to get an additional benefit for core strength. Before then turning around to lay down on the back, stretching out long. And then planting both feet on the floor, knees bent. You might want a block or a pillow in between your knees, possibly another on each side of you. Allow your knees to just fall to the right. Hold the stretch, arms in a T, focusing your gaze out over your left fingertips. Really let it go. Slowly rotate your head to look out over your right shoulder. And then slowly back again to look out over your left shoulder. And then you can bring your head and neck to neutral. Then bring your knees up to neutral. Before you then allow the knees to fall to the left, still with your arms in a T, gazing out over your right fingertips. Slowly turn your head to be looking out over your left shoulder, setting your gaze over the left fingertips. And then slowly turning the head and neck back to be looking out over the right shoulder. And then back to neutral. Knees back up to neutral. Remove any props, hugging in both of your knees, bending your head and your neck towards your knees, engaging your feet, flexing your heels, pointing your toes, rotating your ankles. And then plant both feet firmly on the mat again. Raise your right knee up high into the air, placing it over your left knee. Then allow your legs to fall to your right. Your arms are in a T. Gaze is out over your left fingertips. Enjoy this final stretch. This is my all-time favorite. It's the grand finale of all the twists. And then as you bring your knees to neutral, you can undo them. Hug your knees into your chest, rocking and rolling. Firmly planting both feet back onto the mat again for the other side. Lifting your left knee up high in the air to bend over the right knee and allowing the legs to fall to your left. Arms are in that T with your gaze over your right fingertips. I really really get into this twist. And then coming out of this, you can release your knees back to neutral, hugging in both of those knees one more time, rocking and rolling. And if you would like to, you have an option here for the happy baby, reaching for your feet or your toes. You can rock the baby, maybe alternating, straightening and slightly bending each knee. And then coming out of that form, you can lay flat and then reach for a block for supported bridge. You're going to plant both of your feet firmly on the mat, lifting your hips into the air. Slide a block under the small of your back on its lowest level and relax into your supported bridge. While still on the block, reach for your strap, or you can do this without the strap. We're going to do legs up the wall. You can get the canvas across the balls of both of your feet. And we will remain in legs up the wall. You can keep your knees straightened or bent. You can pedal your legs out. And when you're done with that, you can set your strap to the side, remove the block. If it's in your practice, you have an opportunity here for shoulder stand and the plow. You can take a couple of minutes to do these, or yogi's choice, any stretch you would like. Or feel free to get into Savasana early and we can meet you there. Should you be in a shoulder stand, you might want to point your toes tall, flex your feet, rotate your ankles. Any movement you're inclined to do before then transitioning into your plow. And as you come out of the plow, as slow and controlled as you can, roll your vertebrae one at a time down onto the mat to relax into Savasana. Remembering the intentions you set at the beginning of this practice. Thank yourself for taking the time out today to focus on yourself and your well-being. then as you bring your awareness back into the room, back into your body, you can either roll to one side or the other, or if it's comfortable for you, you have an option of pushing yourself straight up from behind, coming up onto your elbows, slightly rocking yourself, straightening out your arms behind you. If you're on your side, slowly push yourself up. Either way, transition into easy pose. And then placing your left hand on your right knee, right hand on the floor behind you. Lightly twist to the right, lifting your right arm up high in the air over your left arm. Right hand onto the left knee, crossing your arms, and then reaching your left hand behind you to the left for another light twist, and then lifting that left arm high into the air to cross it back over the right arm, back to your right knee, and then we can lightly hug ourselves into this basket shape. And then you're going to make yourself as small as you can into a ball or a seed, hugging in your knees as tight as you can. Before then releasing, stretching your arms out wide to the side into a star shape. And then placing each hand onto each of your knees, touching your pointer finger to your thumb with each hand, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. We're going to chant Om 3 times in a low pitch as we breathe out. And then stretching those arms out wide to the sides for a half moon arch. Bring your arms up overhead to prayer hands. And then to acknowledge your insight and wisdom, touch your thumbs or your knuckles to your third eye as you lower your prayer hands to hands over heart. And then reaching out the arms once again wide to the sides for one last half moon arch. Prayer hands overhead. Slowly lowering those prayer hands to hands over heart before you then bow to close and seal this practice. And so it is. I thank you for practicing with me today. Be well. Have a very blessed rest of your day. Be sure to drink your water and nourish your body with high protein and high produce. Thanks again. See you on the next one. Love and light.